This semester, I did a case study on a girl named Corinne. My name is Megan Long. I'm an EDU 311 student at the University of South Alabama in Celia Slater's class. Corinne is a second grade student at Indian Springs Elementary School that is in Mobile County, Alabama. Her birthday is December 8th, which is coming up pretty quickly. She is very excited for it. She's going to turn 9 years old. She's having a frozen birthday party, so she is extremely ecstatic for that. She does have a younger brother. His name is Sean. He attended Indian Springs last year in kindergarten, but he has been transferred to a behavior school for his behavior issues. That school is in Mobile County, so Corinne still lives with him and everything, and they still talk. She tells me all about her brother Sean. I knew him last semester whenever I was doing my student teaching at Indian Springs as well. Corinne, whenever she was 2 years old, she was diagnosed with mild autism spectrum disorder. Now it has become a little bit more severe because she did not receive the assistance that she needed whenever she was younger. Currently, she is receiving assistance at Indian Springs by the occupational therapist and the physical therapist for different joint issues that she has. In the academic setting, she is very ecstatic whenever it comes to science. She loves the experiments. She loves hands-on activities. Even if she's not the student who is actually doing the activity, which she prefers not to be, she does like watching other students do the activities. She does not like math, however. Every time we get to math, even if it's with hands-on manipulative, she does not enjoy it. She gets very discouraged very quickly. So we've kind of worked on that this semester, and we'll go over that a little bit further into the presentation. But her academic forte would definitely be science. She's very interested in that. She enjoys coloring. Anytime we have an activity where there's a color sheet, she becomes very excited for it. She's very good at coloring too. She's really good at staying in the lines. Even though she does receive service from the physical therapist for that, she's improved tremendously over this past couple months. She also enjoys dancing. She said that she wants to become a ballerina when she grows up. She said if that doesn't work out, which she doesn't think it's going to, she does want to become a teacher because she's had really great teachers in kindergarten and first grade at Indian Springs Elementary School. She qualified for assistance through the special education program whenever she was in kindergarten. Her parents knew going into it that she would need assistance, and so they provided that to her at Indian Springs. In the general education setting, she does receive intervention through the general education teacher, that's Miss Taylor. She also receives assistance in the resource room. Whenever there's a big activity, either a project that they're working on or a test that they're taking or a writing assignment, she does get pulled out by her paraprofessional, Miss Johnson, and goes to Miss Johnson's room. It's actually right next door, so she doesn't have a long walk at all to get to it. But she does get pulled out to receive extra assistance. This really encourages her whenever she's not in the major setting when everybody else is already done and she's still working on the first problem. So she does get discouraged pretty quickly. So being able to go to a resource room is very helpful in Corinne's situation. I observed Corinne in a couple different settings. I observed her in the counselor's office, in the physical education setting, and in the library. For the beginning of the semester, I observed her in the counselor's office. The classroom gets pulled out once every 2 weeks to receive counseling from Miss Johnson. That's the counselor at Indian Springs. When I observed her, I'm not sure if this is how it is every class, but whenever I was in there, Miss Johnson wasn't doing a very interactive lesson. The students were on this little rag carpet in the middle of the classroom, and she pretty much stood up at a smartboard like this and just presented a PowerPoint. Didn't really ask the kids too many questions. Corinne was sitting there pulling the rags off of the carpet, and she wasn't paying any attention at all. I honestly felt a bit sorry for Corinne because the lesson wasn't very interactive and engaging, and so Corinne didn't have the opportunity to really pay attention. And I've seen her have other attention issues in different situations as well. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. During the discussion, she was very quiet. She didn't answer many questions. She actually didn't answer any questions in the counselor's office at all. She was very quiet, didn't really talk to any of her classmates or anything, even during group discussion. But whenever we went to the library, it was kind of a different issue. She was very into the lesson. Miss Sweeney, the librarian at Indian Springs, had the students sitting at tables around her. Miss Sweeney stood up at the projector. She read a book to the students. They watched the video. and she was very engaged throughout the lesson. She was quiet, once again, in the setting. She's a very shy girl, so whenever there's a lot of people, she doesn't do a lot of communicating. Now, when you get her one-on-one, she becomes kind of a different person. She does talk back and forth way more. Whenever it was time to choose a book in the library, she was very rushed. We only had about 5 minutes to pick out a book, and she didn't know what she wanted. She really wanted a Barbie book, but they didn't have it, so she didn't really know what else interested her. And so she became very discouraged, just didn't want to pick a book. We ended up getting a Clifford book, even though she didn't really want it. In the hallway walking back, she was talking about how they wished they had the Barbie book. I think in order to make Corinne more successful in the classroom, we need to take her one-on-one to the library whenever there's nobody else in there, where she can really sit down, figure out what she likes, what she doesn't like, what interests her, what doesn't interest her, and be able to have plenty of time to choose a book. Whenever I observed her in PE, they were doing relay races that day. The coach, her name's Coach Eva, but everyone calls her Coach, she became very frustrated with what Corinne was doing. Whenever Coach was giving instructions for the relays, Corinne wasn't paying any attention at all. So whenever it was time to do the relays, she had no idea what to do. This really frustrated Coach Eva, but the other students, they wanted to win whenever Corinne was on their team. So of course they were pushing her and being like, Corinne, this is what you do. And they were really nice. They were cheering her on like, go Corinne, you've got this, you can do it. Good job. But Coach Eva, you could tell, was obviously frustrated. She was yelling at Corinne because Corinne just had no idea what to do. So Corinne got very discouraged and decided to sit out for the rest of the day at PE. The other children are very helpful with her, and I believe that the students like interacting with Corinne. As we can see on the sociogram that we did, in Miss Taylor's class, the students had a chart that looks very similar to this, and they were able to draw a line to whatever student described the question. So for instance, the blue line was drawn for students who they thought were very smart. The yellow line was drawn to students who the student thought was a good friend to them. The red line was for students who they played with at PE. And then they had another line, the green line, and that was for students who they wanted to be friends with. Now, Corinne didn't have too many lines drawn for the smartest. She had 2, but that wasn't a large amount compared to the other students. But she did have many lines drawn for people who want to be friends with her. I think that this shows that the students really want to be friends with Corinne, but Corinne isn't responding. She doesn't know how to socially interact with the other students. So this is something that we worked on, and she got a lot better. She loves seeing the different lines being drawn to her name. And we talked about how this assignment allowed her to talk to other students and kind of break out of her comfort zone a little bit. She did attempt to make differences, act differently in these social situations. And I think it gave her a lot of encouragement that she did receive such positive feedback from her classmates. During activities, we did a science lesson where it was a week-long science lesson, and it was based on different types of matter. So we have solids, liquids, and gases. And the students, throughout the week, as we studied each one, they made a pamphlet. It was kind of like their own personal book. They got a color in it, they got to write definitions, and they really enjoyed doing that. So the science, although it was a science lesson, we incorporated a reading strategy into it. We had a whole group discussion every day. We talked at the carpet as a whole group, and then they kind of broke into smaller groups and then did their pamphlets. They did experiments together, and they really enjoyed it. Corinne was very positive in both of these aspects. She did pay attention in the whole group because it was interesting. We watched fun videos. We talked about funny things that happened with different states of matter, and she got to be hands-on with the activities, so she was very engaged. Whenever we went to do the assessment, I had this entire class make their own test instead of me giving them a test and them circling the answers. Instead of having Corinne make her own test, I called her back to the table, and one-on-one, we discussed the different types of matter just so I could see if she had a clear understanding of it. I had her sit at the table, and I had different types of matter. So I had something that was solid, a liquid, that I didn't have anything for gas. She was able to mention that the air was a gas. And so she was able to show me, even though it wasn't on a quiz or a test, she was able to show me that she does understand this concept. In our reading session, we did a week-long program on Thanksgiving, talking about pilgrims, Indians, the Mayflower, anything possible that you can think of for Thanksgiving. We talked about it in the reading block, which is about 2 hours every day of the week. So we incorporated the social studies objective, which was the Thanksgiving and the Mayflower and everything that goes along with Thanksgiving. We had a whole group discussion, and then we, like the science, we broke into our small groups and we worked together. We collaborated. We talked about different things that go along with Thanksgiving. We had different assignments. We colored some stuff. We pretended that we were on the Mayflower and what that was like. Corinne really responded to the small group situations because she was able to hear her classmates talk about how they feel, and she wanted to incorporate her opinions in that conversation as well. Whenever we were doing the assessment for the reading, I had the students answer. We had a 10-question quiz that they answered the questions to, and there were 4 multiple-choice questions on it. Instead of having Corinne answer all 4 of those questions, because that can be a bit, that can be a bit discouraging, seeing so many different options, I marked out a couple of them. And then I called her back to the table, and we reviewed it. I read the test, and then I read the answer choices, and she told me which one it was, and so I circled it. Now, I do believe that for that, I could have given her the ability to try to read the questions, and then if she needed assistance, then I would provide it to her. But I didn't, and it went well, and she did understand the information, and so that was a really positive aspect of the lesson. The assessment strategies that I used to change Corinne's assessments so it was different than the other classes, they were very successful. She was able to tell me that she does know the information, but it's really hard for her to stay focused and actually take a test like everybody else. So how we modified the assessment, I believe, was very successful. It provided Corinne the opportunity to be successful with the certain subjects. And instead of just giving her a test like everybody else and saying, "Here, Corinne, go," we allowed the opportunity for success. In Ms. Taylor's class, we do a lot of cooperative learning groups. She's got her group of 4, and she interacts very well with them. Over the course of this semester, she's become very close to her students. I think doing the sociogram really helped because she was able to see that the other students are interested in her, so it gave her some confidence in herself. I will say one thing that needs to be changed with her group, because they don't change all semester, she's with the same group. She has a student at her table who has issues with attention as well, and he is very talkative and gets off subject and distracted very quickly. And so I think to make Corinne in the most environmentally friendly environment, that he needs to be moved to a different group and we need to move somebody else in. But other than that, her cooperative learning group has worked fantastic. It's gotten her out of her comfort zone, and I think going on with the throughout the semester, it's really going to change her and let her become more shy. So that's my case study on Corinne. I hope you enjoyed listening to me. Thank you.